My wife, Sarah, had found a soulmate online and was now in the middle of our living room, demanding a divorce. "Ethan, I'm begging you, just sign the papers," she pleaded, clutching at the leg of my jeans. "Let me go. Let me be free to find my real love. Please." I try to keep my voice even. "Don't be ridiculous, Sarah. I've looked into this guy you met online. He's not who you think he is." "No." She shook her head violently, cutting me off like she was possessed. Her eyes had a wild, unwavering certainty. "You're trying to trick me. He and I have a spiritual connection, a bond you could never understand. All you care about is money." "I don't care who he is," she declared. "I have to be with him." Her pleas escalated into hysterical sobs. It was clear she was dead set on running off with some username on the other side of screen. Before I could react, she scrambled to her feet, ran into the kitchen, and came back with a chef's knife, pressing the blade against her own throat. "If you don't agree to let me go," she threatened, her voice trembling, "I'll die right here in front of you." I'd known Sarah since high school. We went to the same college. For years, I worked part-time jobs to pay her tuition to support her. I truly loved her, and I never wanted her to suffer for a single moment. I threw myself into my career so she could have a good life, working day and night without her. "Fine, Sarah, I'll give you the divorce." The words came out, each one heavy. As I said them, I felt like a balloon deflating, the fight just gone. A flicker of triumph flashed in Sarah's eyes. "But," I added, my voice turning sharp as I looked straight at her, "since you're the one who wants to leave and chase this so-called true love, you're leaving with nothing. You walk away with zero assets." I had earned every single penny myself. I wasn't about to let her take my money and spend it on her fantasy life. "You see, it's always about the money with you," she sneered, but she agreed almost instantly. "Fine, I'll leave with nothing." That afternoon, we went down to the county courthouse to file the paperwork. But because of the state's mandatory 30-day waiting period, she had to leave disappointed and come home with me. At that point, I no longer considered her my wife. I decided not to tell her what my investigation had turned up about her spiritual soulmate. Instead, I offered some comfort. "It's only a month. It'll be over before you know it." Seeing how calm I was, she couldn't help but ask, "Have you come to your senses? Finally realized we're not right for each other?" "I guess so," I said, a cold smile playing on my lips that she couldn't see. On the outside, I feigned the look of a heartbroken husband. "If you found your true love, what can I do but wish you well? Forcing you to stay would just make us both miserable." "Well, it's good you finally understand," she said quietly. For a moment, I saw a trace of something I couldn't quite place in her eyes, something almost like reluctance. "We were married for a long time. After all," she added, her tone softening to a gentleness I hadn't heard in years. I'll come back to visit you and Coco." She had no idea that our company was thriving, and the headquarters was in the process of moving to Seattle. The firm had already given me a sprawling penthouse there, completely paid for. Soon, I'd be taking Coco and starting a new life on the West Coast. 2. The waiting period. For the next month, I buried myself in work while Sarah stayed home, cultivating her spiritual connection with her online Romeo. She even posted a picture of our signed divorce filing on Facebook, announcing our impending split to all our friends and family. I had planned on telling my parents gently when the time was right, but she blew that plan to pieces. My phone rang off the hook all afternoon with calls from concerned relatives. What Sarah didn't know was that half of those calls were from people trying to set me up with someone new. Even my own parents, after a brief, obligatory attempt to talk us out of it, started pitching me daughters of their friends, telling me who was sweet and who was ambitious. I'm 26, and yes, I have a 3-year-old daughter, but I'm a success story. I'd grown with my company from the ground up. The 2% of founding stock the owner gave me years ago was now worth over $30 million after we went public. I drove a 6-figure car, lived in a penthouse in the trendiest part of Denver, and was known to everyone as Mr. Colt. In the eyes of our friends and family, I was the guy who'd made it. On top of that, I'm 6'1", in good shape, and handsome enough that women still hit on me at the mall. And let's just say our intimate life was never a problem from my end. I thought I was the definition of a perfect husband, yet here I was, slapped with the label of spiritually incompatible. Frankly, the day the divorce was final, I could have a date with a college girl 10 times younger and more beautiful than Sarah. But with the divorce still pending and the whole situation leaving a bad taste in my mouth, I wasn't interested in jumping into anything new. I politely turned down everyone's offers. But as it turned out, my destiny had other plans. It showed up, or rather, returned to my life that week. Our high school class president organized a reunion, and Sarah and I went together. By then, I was treating her like a roommate, just counting the days until the waiting period was over. I could be civil detached. Having money and a career makes it easier to get over something like a divorce. When Sarah and I walked into the private room at the restaurant, our old classmates immediately started joking around. "Look who it is. Does this mean you two worked it out?" Jessica chimed in. "As successful as Ethan is, Sarah would never be crazy enough to leave him. She's just trying to scare him." Sarah fired back instantly. "Actually, we're just waiting for the 30-day period to end. Then it's official." "Really, Sarah?" Jessica's eyes lit up. "Well, I just got divorced myself. If you don't want Ethan, I'm officially calling dibs." Sarah shrugged. "Be my guest. In less than a month, he's all yours." "So, it's an amicable split," Jessica pressed. "You could say that," Sarah said with a nod. "We just grew apart." I remained quiet through her explanation, a faint, placid smile on my face. To anyone watching, we looked like the perfect picture of a conscious uncoupling. While Sarah chatted away with other people, my eyes scanned the room and landed on a woman sitting at the far end of the table, staring directly at me. She had soft, wavy hair, pale skin, and captivating eyes that could pull you in from across a room. It was Olivia Vance, the most beautiful girl from our graduating class. Even after all these years, I recognized her instantly. We'd been lab partners for 2 years. And though no one else knew it, she once had a massive crush on me. I turned her down without a second thought back then, because all I could see was Sarah. I remember when I rejected her. Her eyes were red with tears, but she walked right up to me, grabbed my arm, and bit down hard, leaving a perfect set of teeth marks. The next day, she transferred schools. I never saw her again. Sarah and I had been to plenty of reunions over the years, but Olivia was never there. I'd heard she went to study abroad, then moved to Seattle. I never expected to see her again. 3. An old flame. Throughout the dinner, I could feel Olivia's eyes on me. She had never come to a reunion before. Her sudden appearance now gave me a strange feeling, a premonition that she was here for me. I could still remember the look in her eyes when she bit me, a fierce intensity, as if she was trying to brand herself into my memory, so I'd never forget. I'd never seen a look like that on anyone else before or since. Sure enough, when I got up to go to the restroom, Olivia followed me out. I was on my way back from a men's room when she stepped out and blocked my path in the hallway. "Ready to admit you made a mistake?" she asked, her gaze locked on mine as she slowly walked toward me. I knew exactly what she meant. She was talking about me choosing Sarah over her. "How have you been, Olivia?" I sidestepped the question. She just shrugged and gestured back toward the private room with her chin, her tone dripping with disdain. "So that's the one you picked over me? I can't believe I lost to her. It's honestly insulting. Tell me," she said, biting her lower lip softly as her eyes roamed over me. "How are you going to make that up to me? I heard you were studying abroad. How's life treating you?" I persisted with my own question, as if we were having 2 completely different conversations. "It's life," Olivia finally answered. "I came back after college. Been single ever since. A few days ago, I heard you were getting a divorce, so I hopped on the first flight back." The way she said it made me feel like some kind of deadbeat who'd abandoned her. "Are you saying you've been waiting for me all these years?" I asked, trying to process what she was implying. "Yes," she said, without a hint of hesitation. "And since I've waited so long, you'd better put me at the top of your list once you're officially single." She was so much more confident, so much more mature than I remembered. As she spoke, she lightly traced a finger down my chest. Just then, Sarah walked out into the hallway. Seeing us standing there, she commented with an airy, unconcerned tone, Well, my husband's still popular, getting cornered on the way to the bathroom." "Of course," Olivia shot back with a cold smile, her voice laced with insinuation. "Just because some women have bad taste doesn't mean we all do." "Whatever," Sarah scoffed, turning toward the women's room. She waved a dismissive hand over her shoulder. "He and I are on completely different wavelengths. You wouldn't get it." If you two actually end up together, I'd be happy for you. And with that, she disappeared inside. Seeing Sarah's complete lack of concern, any flicker of guilt Olivia might have felt for being caught with another woman's husband vanished completely. She pulled out her phone and held it up to me. My number. Put it in. She radiated a sense of absolute certainty, her tone leaving no room for argument. I did as she said. As she turned to leave, she called back over her shoulder. Talk to you later. Her voice echoed in the hallway. My mind, against my will, drifted back to high school. I saw a flash of her tutoring me in calculus, another of her handing me a carton of milk before class, another of her waiting for me by the school gates. Back then, just like now, her eyes always sparkled when she looked at me. Even knowing I was in love with Sarah, she pursued me for so long. Not until I shut her down completely. And now, the moment she heard my marriage was ending, she'd rushed all the way back to Denver. That stubborn, determined girl hadn't changed one bit. Heh! A smile crept onto my face. A new thought began to form in my mind. Maybe leaving Sarah and starting over with Olivia was exactly what I needed to do. A few days later, Olivia showed up at my office. My boss escorted her in himself, practically bowing. Ethan, he whispered, leaning in close. This is the daughter of the owner of our biggest partner company. She's here to inspect our operations and specifically asked for you to give her the tour. He paused, looking curious. What did you two meet? She's an old high school classmate, I explained. My boss breathed a sigh of relief. Listen, he urged. Our company's steady growth over the years is thanks to the Vance family support. You need to make sure you take good care of her. Understood, I nodded. I gave Olivia a tour of our facilities. Afterward, I drove her to a high-end restaurant nearby. I wasn't that naive kid from high school anymore. Years in the business world had taught me to read between the lines. Looking at Olivia across the table, I spoke with a sense of dawning realization. I always thought my success was due to my own hard work and a little bit of luck. I paused. Turns out, you were pulling the strings behind the scenes all along. I should have connected the dots sooner. Olivia Vance was the heiress to Vance Industries, our largest client. Our company's smooth, upward trajectory wasn't just good business. She had been silently helping us, and me, this whole time. The reason was painfully obvious. It was because of me. As I said it, my eyes started to well up. It was hard to fathom that she could carry a torch for someone for so long, with such unwavering devotion. I felt completely unworthy. So, now that you've figured it out, how are you going to repay me? A playful smile spread across her face, her bright eyes fixed on mine. You name it, I said. I felt there was no way I could ever truly repay her. Whatever you ask, I'll do it. I made a silent vow to myself. For the next 8 years, I would do anything she asked. Why 8 years? Because that's how long it had been since I turned her down when we were 18. Just show me around, she said. I've been away from Denver for so long. There are so many places I want to see again. For the next 3 days, I drove Olivia on a short road trip. We revisited our old high school, walked through the downtown pedestrian mall, and hiked in the mountains just outside the city. We saw it all. I didn't go home during that time. We stayed in hotels. But since I was still technically married, we slept in separate rooms. On the third day, as we were about to head to a reservoir beach, I got a call from Sarah. Hello, where have you been? You haven't been home in 3 days. I'm on a trip with my girlfriend, I said. Olivia wasn't my girlfriend yet, not officially, but I wanted to say it just to get under Sarah's skin. But she didn't sound angry at all. Instead, her tone was lazy bored. It's so boring at home. Mind if I tag along? I couldn't figure her out. I was on a trip with another woman, and she wanted to join. We're at the reservoir. Come if you want, I said, giving her the location. To my surprise, she actually showed up. She saw Olivia and me walking barefoot along the shoreline, talking and laughing, and she didn't seem the least bit upset. She just kicked off her shoes and joined us. One man with 2 women. One his soon-to-be ex-wife, the other his soon-to-be girlfriend. It was a bizarre scene, but somehow the 3 of us managed to coexist peacefully. We even stood together for a photo, smiling for a stranger's camera as the shutter clicked. Not only did my soon-to-be ex and my soon-to-be girlfriend take a picture together, but we also sat down for a calm meal afterward. It was mostly because Sarah was so completely detached, or, more accurately, she had no love left for me, so she couldn't have cared less about Olivia being there. During dinner, she even took Olivia's hand, placed it on top of mine, and said with the air of a benevolent elder, "I'm glad Olivia isn't put off by Ethan's situation. Now I can leave without worrying. You two are on the same wavelength," she continued. "I'm sure you'll be very happy together, and I know you'll take good care of Coco." She went on and on with her blessings. Olivia and I exchanged a look. When I glanced back at Sarah, Olivia's expression was one of pure bewilderment, as if she were looking at someone who had completely lost their mind. I just felt helpless. After all the years I'd spent with Sarah, I wanted to tell her she was acting like a crazy person, but I knew it would be pointless. She was so lost in this spiritual connection with her online stranger that she viewed a pragmatist like me as some kind of lesser being. Nothing I said could ever get through to her. Sarah's parents died when she was young, and she was raised by her grandmother, who passed away a couple of years ago. Maybe I had been working too much, not spending enough time talking with her, and that's what led her to this. When we got home, I took her hand. "Sarah," I said softly, "I could try to work less, spend more time at home with you. Could you maybe?" I was making one last attempt to save us, but she cut me off. "Ethan, we agreed to a divorce. This is perfect. I found my soulmate, and you found someone you love. It's a win-win." "Oh," she paused, realization dawning on her. She pointed a finger at me, her voice dripping with sarcasm. "I get it. You don't want me to leave because you want to have your cake and eat it too. You want two wives, don't you? Ethan, that's just disgusting." Today was the last day of the waiting period. Despite my final effort, she was unmoved, accusing me of wanting to be a bigamist. I was done. "Fine, Sarah." I snapped. "My patience gone. Go find your soulmate. I just hope you don't regret it." I turned and walked toward the door. "My only regret is not leaving you sooner." Her voice trailed after me. I thought I was prepared to let her go, but that one sentence hit me like a punch to the gut. All those years of devotion, of working my ass off for her. Her words made it all feel like a giant, pathetic joke. I drove to my parents' house and picked up Coco. I wanted our daughter to spend one last night with both of us in that home. Ever since Sarah started demanding a divorce, I'd left Coco with my parents. I'd already put the penthouse on the market, and a friend was buying it. We were scheduled to sign the final papers and close the deal tomorrow. Starting tomorrow, this home, this family, would cease to exist. "Mommy, eat this," my 3-year-old daughter said, holding up a grape to Sarah's lips. Sarah, however, looked at our daughter with sheer annoyance. "I'm not your mommy," she said coldly. "Remember that. From now on, I'm not." Her words made Coco burst into tears. I rushed over and scooped Coco into my arms, fury rising in my chest. "Sarah, she's just a child. How can you say something like that to her?" She gave me an icy look. "We're getting divorced anyway. What's wrong with letting her get used to it early? You don't tell her you're not her mother. You just don't." I was furious, truly, completely, and finally angry. Her coldness toward our daughter had crossed a line I didn't even know I had. I used to think I neglected her, that my absence allowed some stranger to whisper his way into her heart. But seeing her dismiss our child so callously, I suddenly realized the truth. She had always been a selfish person, chasing fantasies and detached from reality. All these years, I had been the one holding our family together, foolishly loving a person who didn't want to be here. She had wanted to fly away from this cage all along, to be a free bird. Even without the online soulmate, she would have found another reason to leave. It was just who she was. In that moment, I finally completely let go. "Fine, fly away. I'm setting you free." The next day, I stood at the entrance of the county courthouse, holding my daughter, with Sarah beside me. "If you're sure about the divorce, sign here." The clerk pushed the documents across the counter. Without a moment's hesitation, Sarah picked up the pen and signed her name. Her expression was one of pure relief, as if she were finally escaping the prison of Ethan and Coco. My own heart was heavy, my face grim. I felt like a man waiting for his sentence to be read. "Here." Sarah slid the pen into my hand. I took a deep breath and pressed down hard, signing my name. Our marriage was over. Walking out of the courthouse, I clutched the divorce certificate, silent. Sarah immediately took a picture of hers and posted it to Facebook, announcing her freedom to the world. But no one celebrated with her. The post sat there, bare of comments or likes. My phone, on the other hand, started buzzing with calls from our mutual friends, offering sympathy. Several, like Jessica, were blunt enough to offer to become Coco's new stepmom. I had nearly $3 million in savings and another $30 million in stock. Sarah hadn't asked for a dime. I knew she had at least $20,000 of her own money saved up. I had considered giving her a few million. After all, she'd spent years with me, and she was the mother of my child. But seeing her flit about like a giddy teenager, drunk on the idea of freedom, I changed my mind. I held Coco tighter and walked silently to my car. She had already packed her bags and bought a plane ticket to Gary, Indiana, the city where her soulmate lived. The courthouse steps were the last place our paths would cross. From there, I drove east, and she dragged her suitcase west. Two people who were never meant to be together were finally going their separate ways. As the wind whipped through the open car window, it lifted the corner of a file folder on the passenger seat. The page underneath revealed information on a 70-year-old man, a paraplegic, a long-term patient in a nursing facility. Sarah had used that folder as a coaster for her coffee just days ago, never once bothering to look inside. I drove straight from the courthouse to meet my friend, signed the papers for the penthouse, and transferred the title. It was done. The June sun was bright as I got on the highway, heading for Seattle. Olivia was in the passenger seat. Coco and my parents were in the back. I wasn't just taking my daughter. I was moving my entire family. Olivia, sweetie, my mom said from the back. After all this time, it turns out you two were meant to be. Seeing you again has made this old woman so happy. I was only just learning today that my parents had known Olivia well. Apparently, back when she was trying to win me over in high school, she'd put just as much effort into winning them over too. Ethan, Olivia doesn't mind your situation, so you'd better treat her right from now on, my mom added for what felt like the 20th time. I know, Mom, I said a little impatiently. I could see my dad in the rearview mirror, grinning from ear to ear, a smile he couldn't seem to wipe off his face. Once in Seattle, I set my parents up in a new penthouse. They immediately took over caring for Coco. With nothing else to do, doting on their granddaughter became their sole mission. As for me, I planned to buy a new house, but Olivia pulled out a thick binder of property deeds and asked me to pick one. I was stunned. You own all these houses? She smiled, then sat up straighter, looking proud. I'm not that special. I just came home and inherited a tenth of my parents' assets. I've got about 45 properties and with stocks, funds, and cash. It's around $500 million, give or take. My God, I knew she was the Vance heiress, but I had no idea she was that wealthy. Do you want my money? She purred, leaning closer like a mischievous fox. I just smiled faintly. She took that as an invitation, climbing directly onto my lap. She tilted my chin up with her finger and said, "If you want it, you have to make this official. Let's go get married." "Aren't you afraid I'm just after your money?" I asked. She wrapped her arms around my neck, her eyes hazy. "Are you? I didn't think I was. I've been faithful to my wife. In my last marriage, despite endless temptations, I never once strayed. I was a devoted husband and father. That marriage failed, but I never felt it was my fault. I was just with the wrong person at the wrong time. Until that moment, Olivia and I had not been intimate, but I was a normal man, and it had been over a month. Knowing now that I wanted to be with her, I didn't hesitate. I lifted her into my arms and carried her to the bedroom. Olivia and I were finally, truly together. Later, when I saw the crimson stain on the sheets, I looked at her in shock. You've never. With anyone?" "Nope," she replied proudly. "Honestly, I could tell your ex-wife was trouble from a mile away." So I waited. Before I could respond, she grabbed my arm and bit down hard. A perfect set of teeth marks appeared on my skin. She looked at it, then at me, as if a great weight had been lifted. "You owed me that," she said. She was right. I did owe her, and I planned to spend the rest of my life repaying the debt. We made it official that day. Within a week, Olivia took me home to meet her parents. I'd already met her father through work, of course. "Mr. Vance," I began, my heart pounding. "Olivia and I are seeing each other." I was nervous, after all. I was divorced with a daughter. But before I could finish, a warm smile spread across his face. "Ethan, Olivia told me all about you too. Now that you're going to be family, have you considered coming to work at Vance Industries?" Her father was a notorious workaholic and had tried to poach me several times before. I knew that if I refused this time, he might not give his blessing for our marriage. The old fox was mixing business with pleasure, using our relationship as leverage. My current boss. I started thinking of the man who had mentored me, who had given me a life-changing opportunity with company stock. I couldn't just abandon him. Don't worry about Lou, Mr. Vance said with an unshakable confidence. You're my son-in-law now. He'll let you go. Besides, he's made a fortune off his partnership with us over the years. He owes me this favor. That first dinner was all about business. He was already treating me like a son-in-law, even though Olivia and I weren't even engaged. Her mother was equally thrilled. She pulled me aside and confessed she'd been worried Olivia wasn't interested in men, since she'd never brought a boyfriend home before. Throughout the entire evening, neither of them mentioned the fact that I was divorced or had a child. There wasn't a hint of judgment. The next day, Olivia and I got our marriage license. At the same time, I resigned from my old company and started at Vance Industries. Olivia has always been passionate about her painting and creative pursuits, my new father-in-law told me. She has no interest in running the company. I was the one who forced her to come to the office. I'm hoping you can take the lead here, so she can be free to do what she really loves. He had high expectations for me, and as it happened, I was passionate about making money. It made me think of my ex-wife, who acted as if she were above such worldly concerns, yet had no artistic passions of her own. I never did figure out where her sense of superiority came from. I settled into my new role at Vance Industries quickly. Life with Olivia was warm and steady. It was nothing like my one-sided relationship with Sarah. Olivia was thoughtful and caring toward me and my entire family. She loved to wait for me on the couch when I came home from work, to go grocery shopping with me, to gossip about everything and nothing. She managed our home effortlessly. Being with her was easy, comfortable. This, I thought, is what a soulmate really feels like. And then, after a month of silence, Sarah started calling me. 8. Regrets, and a wedding seeing her name on my phone screen. I smirked. It was Sarah. I knew this call would come eventually. I was just surprised it took her over a month. I hadn't blocked her number. I had nothing to hide. Hello. I answered, my voice low. Ethan. I was scammed. Sarah was sobbing on the other end. Olivia, who was nearby, crept closer, trying to eavesdrop. I just put the call on speaker and held a finger to my lips. Before I could say anything, Sarah choked out. The man I was talking to, he was an old man. A really old man. He's 70 years old, Ethan. He's stuck in a hospital bed, paralyzed from the waist down. Sob. She cried harder as she spoke, her voice thick with misery. Olivia's eyebrows shot up, and then she let out a quiet snort of laughter. I quickly put a hand over her mouth. And he has a wife, Sarah wailed, and 3 sons who are older than our parents. Olivia and I listened, trying our best not to laugh out loud. When I got there, his wife and his sons, they all beat me up. Sob. I was in the hospital for a month. Her soulmate, a 70-year-old invalid. Her trip ending with a beatdown from his family. It was a story so absurd Olivia and I could barely contain ourselves. Of course, I already knew all of this. I had to file. But at the time, she was so lost in her delusion, so intent on hurting me, that I knew showing it to her would have been pointless. It was time to cut her off. Sarah, we're divorced. My dad is my dad. Please don't refer to him as our dad anymore. She was clearly stunned that my first reaction wasn't pity, but a correction of her grammar. Ethan, I know you're still mad at me. We can talk when I get back. She hung up before I could reply. After listening to her tragicomedy, Olivia pursed her lips. I have a feeling she's going to keep bothering you. You're not thinking of taking her back, are you? Not interested, I said. I pulled her onto my lap, gave her a kiss, and asked, do I look like the kind of guy who picks up trash? That one word, trash, summed up my feelings about Sarah perfectly. A couple of days later, a friend called to tell me my ex-wife was going crazy trying to find me and my family. Sarah had been calling and sending long, apologetic texts, but I ignored them all. The next time she called, I finally blocked her number. At that exact moment, I was standing at the altar, waiting for my bride. The grand wooden doors swung open, and there she was, Olivia, in a stunning white gown, walking toward me on her father's arm. Today was our wedding day. I took her hand, and in front of all our friends and family, we exchanged vows and rings. Just as the ceremony concluded, a disheveled woman burst into the hall, ran toward us, and collapsed to her knees at my feet with a thud. Ethan, you really married her. It was Sarah. Olivia and I had anticipated she might show up, but we thought she'd interrupt the ceremony. True to form, Sarah's timing was off. She arrived just after we were pronounced husband and wife. Well, if it isn't my ex-wife, I thought you were off chasing your soulmate, I said, pulling Olivia closer. Olivia gently squeezed my hand, a faint, amused smile on her lips as she watched the drama unfold. Sarah knelt on the floor, her hair a mess, tears mixing with dirt and smudged makeup on her face. The arrogant, self-assured woman I once knew was gone. Ethan, please forgive me. I was wrong. I know I was wrong. I never should have divorced you. I never should have trusted that liar. She reached for my pant leg, but I subtly stepped back. Sarah, we're done. This is my wedding day. You shouldn't be here. The guests started whispering. My father-in-law frowned and signaled for security. Sarah seemed oblivious, her voice rising in desperation. I know I was wrong. I was scammed. Look at me, they beat me up so badly. I was in the hospital for a month. Don't you feel even a little bit sorry for me? I looked down at her and almost laughed. Sorry for you. When you were telling me I couldn't understand your soul and demanding a divorce, did you ever wonder if I was hurting? Sarah was speechless for a second, then quickly changed tactics. I was a fool then. I was completely delusional. Ethan, please, just give me one more chance. We can start over. I can help you raise our daughter. I can learn to be a better wife. There's no need. I cut her off, my voice cold. My life is great now. Olivia takes wonderful care of our home, and my daughter is happier than ever. You should probably focus on figuring out your own life. The security guards had arrived. My father-in-law spoke in a low, firm voice. Please escort this woman out. Don't ruin the celebration. As they drag her away, Sarah continued to scream my name, her voice shrill and desperate. I didn't look back. I turned to Olivia and smiled. Sorry you had to see that. Olivia shook her head and stood on her toes to kiss my cheek. It's in the past. Come on, we have guests to greet. Sunlight streamed through the stained glass windows, catching the beadwork on her dress and making her glow. I squeezed her hand and followed her into the crowd of our loved ones. All the ugliness of the past felt like smoke, blown away by the wind, unable to touch me ever again. I had confirmed the room number a dozen times before I came. But when the nurse pushed the door open and the man sitting on the bed looked up and smiled at me, my brain short-circuited. It wasn't the gentle, intellectual man I had imagined, not the 30-something I had pictured in my head over and over. It was a man with white hair and a face like a road map of wrinkles. He was wearing an old-fashioned watch on his wrist. He had to be 70. Sarah, he asked, and the voice was identical to Alex, the man who had stayed up all night talking to me. A bucket of ice water crashed over me. All the connection, the empathy, the feeling of being uniquely understood, it all curdled into a sick joke. Who the hell are you? I screamed, throwing the chart from the foot of his bed at him. Where's Alex? You lied to me. Suddenly, a woman jumped to her feet. So you're the home wrecker, she shrieked, pointing a finger in my face. No wonder my husband's been giggling at his phone all day. He's been talking to trash like you. 3 large men surrounded me, their spit flying in my face. You got some nerve showing up here after trying to break up our family. He's 70 years old. Have you no shame? When the fists and slaps started landing, I didn't fight back. I didn't even scream. The old man was yelling from his bed. Stop hitting her. It was my fault. I lied to her. But no one listened. By the time a nurse rushed in and pulled him off, I was crumpled on the floor, my forehead split open on the corner of the bed frame, blood running down my face. Lying in a different hospital bed later, staring at the ceiling, I started to laugh. All that late-night emotional intimacy, all those promises of understanding. It was just the bored pastime of a paralyzed old man. I called him a liar, but the real fool was me. I was the one stupid enough to mistake a fantasy world for a life raft. And the worst part, I threw away my husband for this. I abandoned my daughter. I even personally handed the man I loved to another woman. The regret was so absolute, it was suffocating. I slapped my own face 10 times hard. By the time I finally made it back home, I discovered it was already too late.